Okay, I'm back. So, alright, almost done with this girl. Finally returned, had dinner, had probably do another couple hours on here for those people who decide to stop by and say hi. Um, so, if you can see, I've got this base on here. It's got some pretty cool little leaves and stuff. Can't really see them too well, but this was an impression base. It's a rubber mat thing that you put over green stuff and you press down on it and it impresses upon it the shapes you want. Problem is it doesn't work great for working around a mini. You have to kind of take the mini off of the base, and I don't think I did that. So I was trying to impress it around and trying to get some highlights on it. So I think I gotta figure out a better way to make that pop. So what I'm thinking about doing is maybe putting some browns around the leafy areas so that it'll make the leaves pop a little bit more, so you can see how it looks there. You can see a couple of the leaves, and yeah, looks okay, but it's too much green. I basically put green, just try to make the leaves a lighter green. So I decided I'm going to change that. Actually just brown up the areas around it a little bit more. And hopefully that'll make the leaves pop more. More my attempt at experimenting. It would have been a better press if I had just pressed on it better, because I think ultimately part of the problem was I didn't do a very good job of pressing the shapes out of this green stuff. And I think those that showed up are pretty good, but I don't know. The rest of it's going to have to kind of look like mud. And I think that's kind of the goal, just be dirt. And I'll run it under her boots too a little. I'll put some shading and stuff around there, and with any luck I'll be able to make it pop a little bit more and look a little less, well, bad. I mean, just make the ground look more defined. Right now it's just not great. I think I'll probably be on here a couple of hours. Let's see, what time is it? 4? Yeah, maybe till 6:30. We'll give that my goal. We'll see, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less. I don't know. We'll just play it by ear. See what the see if the evening folks join up and want to talk, and see if I get really going in my flow. Like I said, my goal was to do 8 hours of painting on stream this week, and I have failed miserably because today is the first time I've actually painted, and so far I've done, I think, an hour and a half, 2 hours. That is not necessarily a great pace considering it's already Wednesday. Now, last night I did or yesterday, my daughter and I had our second COVID shot. Yes. And so supposedly they say the worst effect that people have, if they have it, will be the second shot on the second day. I feel fine. I did my workout this morning and for an hour, and then it's now officially been more than 24 hours since I did my shot. And I expect that if it's going to become an issue, since it hasn't already, it will be sometime in the next, I guess, few hours. It's weird to anticipate illness, right? I mean, it's like, I'm fine. Why would it be any different? I don't expect why it would be. Oh, there it is. No, it just hits. It's like, I don't know. Is that how it works? I mean, it's illness is people get headaches. People get, I don't know. Some people get a little sick, or they're drained. They feel tired. So it just depends, I guess. Everybody has their own response to it, I guess. So what I'm probably going to do here is I'm trying to fix these leaves. And I want the leaves to pop a little bit more, so I'm turning the ground around them a lot more brown, using some darker browns so that they stand out more. And then I'm thinking I'm going to take some lighter greens and I'm going to go over the leaves again. I'm going to literally just kind of shade them in a lighter tone. Or not shade them, highlight them in a lighter tone. So get those darker colors really to separate out. Just kind of keep going until I can get the leaves and the sticks. There are some sticks on here, which I might actually paint them like almost, if not black, maybe even like a mahogany brown, like something really that stands out. I really want my mud to look muddy and my ferns to look ferny. Choo-choo. It looks almost like she's standing on some rock there. I wonder if I should paint that to kind of make it look like a rock. Put a little gray on the... That would be kind of cool. Make it look a little grayer on the rock there. Just so it looks like she's kind of standing on a plane of something. She just kind of stepped off to the side of that rock and she's stepping over it. That's an idea. Trying to blend out too. Her base is different colored than the area around it. And I think that's probably a user error. That's it. That would be my fault. I probably painted it before I put her into the base, and then I never painted it to match the rest of the thing. So voila, here I am dealing with it now. Just trying to make her look like she's supposed to be in mud with some leaves around, and I'll try to make those leaves pop a little bit more, start shading and highlighting to call that stuff out. Actually, I think even right now with the darker color brown on there, the leaves pop a little bit better. Yeah, a little bit. And then I'll lighten them up with some highlights. Now, I've always had a problem with highlighting with white, mostly because I'm afraid of highlighting with white, because sometimes I don't think white belongs there. So I try to just pick really light colors of what I'm working with, like almost, if not a white green, but then I don't know, what is a white green? A really light green. So a greenish light color. So I could take like whatever light green I was using there. And let's see, what did I use? Maybe it's natural wood. That's really light, but I don't know. That's kind of a yellowish color, isn't it? I don't know. It's funny how when I start doing these, I start talking like I said, like Bob Ross. No, we're going to start with a natural wood, and the natural wood is going to make it pop out. But you can do anything that works for you because it's your creation. It's all going to be wonderful. It's just wonderful when you touch your wood onto the when you just touch your colors onto the wood, it'll make it pop, and your forest will come alive with color. And gotta keep drinking. Gotta keep those electrolytes up. Keep that. COVID vaccine shot from getting a hold of me. No headaches allowed. No. We're gonna fight this sucker off. We're not gonna let it leave him. So I'll be one of those people come tomorrow that says, second shot didn't do nothing to me except give me a sore arm. And the needle that they had to use to break into my skin was extremely thick and was made of titanium. Okay. And it had to be laced with this green stuff in order to make my skin soft enough to penetrate with the needle. Okay. It's my delivery service. Amazon comes in the door and hands me off the packages. Woohoo. Weight training gloves. Well, weightlifting gloves. Same thing, I guess. But my other ones were getting pretty worn out, so. And got some new ones. Decided they needed a second pair that I could stick in my workout bag so I didn't have to always remember to put in there. So what do we got here? Yeah, they're gray. I mean, I knew they were gray, I guess, when I ordered them, but they told me they were too big. Or everybody online was saying they were big. Oh, these are nice. Because they're very vented. See, they got like a mesh front. This has absolutely nothing to do with painting, by the way, but this is my kicker. See, this is what I call it, my hook. I get distracted. I don't actually paint the whole time. So these are actually kind of nice. Wow, they got a lot of nice mesh holes. So the advantage to having a lot of mesh like this, well, there's advantages and disadvantages. One, when they're new, your hands get to stay cool because a lot of air can get in there. It doesn't sweat as much. Your hand will breathe nicely. The potential negative is that mesh is probably going to break down pretty fast. Quite possibly requiring that I have to replace them either fairly often or, if I want to continue using them, this kind of thing. But they're very nice. They have a nice feel, very comfortable. But I like that they're very aired. The other ones I've been using are leather, which is leather's great. Leather lasts a long time. But leather sweats, and then you have to wash them all the time, and they can get to being kind of stinky, just because that's what happens if you don't wash them regularly. These are nice. We'll see. Have to try them out. Try them out with some when I go to the gym on Friday. I could even use them at home. We'll see. If I like them enough, I'll buy 2 pairs, one and replace the one that I have that's wearing out, and have one in my bag and one here. Okay, so that's the commercial, the product review, package opening review for Kansoon ultralight gloves. And now back to our regularly scheduled painting. You're like, so people out there going, what is this guy doing? He's reviewing weightlifting gloves during a painting session? Yeah. It's, when you get a new toy, whether it be weightlifting gloves or paintbrushes or toys like the ones I have in my X-Case display wall display behind me, you want to look at it, open it up, put it away, check out the coolness of it. So then put it in the case and never touch it again. All right, let's see. The thing is, I think I stopped putting brown down, mostly because I ran out of it. I didn't put enough of it on my paint. That's a lie. That's a lie. I tell you, it's not true. Actually, what I need is just some more water to soften up some of the paint I have in here. There. Now it's better. Okay. So, it's just one little drop of paint, so hopefully it's enough to loosen up the paint I had on here and not make it, actually I think I'm wrong, I think it's going to make it too thin. There was a little bit of paint here. I probably should have done about a micro drop, not a whole drop of water. No, you can't see it because I have my camera too high. This way I can paint up here, keep the thing in the camera, and but in doing that, you don't get to see my microscopic. See, I have a very small paint palette. That's my paint palette. Ta-da! Actually, I have multiples of them. I have 2 paint palettes that are this size. It allows me to have a couple miniatures going at once. But actually, I have 3, but I don't know where my third one is. I have 6 of those little containers. 3 of them are used to hold paint palette refills for this mat, little sponges and parchment paper. And then one holds like a lot of my flex iron and magnet stuff that I put. Like the flex iron goes on the bottom of these cases, minis, so that they'll stick to the magnet in the cases. And then I just have a lot of different sizes of that, and some that's just square, so I can cut it out if I need to. And then I carry around like little accessories, pieces of minis that break off that I need to glue on, or that need to be glued on at some point that haven't been yet. So yeah, there's a variety of stuff in those other cases. And then they all fit inside of the X case. That's why they're so small, because I needed them to be no more than 2.5 inches wide, so that I can stick them in the case. And now you know why I have tiny wet palettes. They work great. I mean, I use an official sponge. It's an official wet palette sponge, and I forgot which one it is. Wet. I don't know. I want to say dry wet. dry wet. I don't know. One of those main ones, well-known ones or whatever that they have on Amazon. I just cut it down to have squares that fit inside of my little wet pellets, my micro pellets. And it works good. Plus, I don't have to have all my paints out at once. I believe you can get by with a little dot. I can get 7 or 8 different colors in there and mix some stuff up. So there's no reason why that doesn't work for me. Just trying to find some. Forgot what I used. See, here's a problem. I don't remember what browns I used on my. And as you can see, if you were watching me during the first half of this, which you probably weren't, if we were watching at all, if for those people that might have possibly stopped by here and at my previous one an hour or so ago, they would know that I was supposed to be painting, fixing up the legs. Now, I've done a lot to kind of make the details on the legs pop up. But pop out, I mean. And there was this tiny little bulge on the top of her leg here that I have no idea what it is or how to paint it, because, well, it's a tiny little bulge on the top of her leg. I don't know why it's there. I can't tell if it's padding. It's certainly not a pouch. It's just weird. It's just a weird thing, and I don't know what to do with it. I know it's not. It's probably intentional, but you know what? Man, if it was just a little bit less there, I'd cut it off and just make her leg look like a leg. But it's there, and I can't do anything about it. So I must make do. Okay, so. Let's see, what can we talk about? What can I ramble on about now? In my let's see, I talked about my COVID shot and my second COVID shot. TV shows I'm currently watching. Let's see. Well, glad you asked. Thanks. Actually, I don't know that I'm in the middle of watching that new one on the new movie on Netflix, the zombie one with where they go into Vegas and they try to take the money out of the casino that's been overrun by zombies. I forgot what the name of that was. Something zombie. I don't know. But I think it's pretty good so far. It's an interesting, I guess, an interesting zombie premise. There's so many zombie movies out there now. It's like, do we really need more zombie movies? So this brown, I think, is a little different from the one I was using. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try to hit the higher parts of it. It's a little lighter, I think. So what I think I'll do, I'll kind of use it as a transition color from the brown I had. Just kind of hit the higher spots, the more obvious spots, to kind of make, I don't know, make it look like it's a little bit more transition-y. You know, make my brown not be brown everywhere, but just at the, I mean, brown everywhere, but not the same shade of brown, right? So just something a little less. This one will just be a brown, I don't know, transition color. Now, I could be wrong. As I'm putting it down, it could turn out to be exactly the same color. It'll dry and go, that's not different. That's not different at all. What are you doing? Do you not have any idea what the difference is? So, because it's hard to tell if you don't remember what color you used, and then you put it down and it's all wet, and you're like, well, wet, that color is different. So it must not be the same one. And then it dries, and you're like, oh, yep, that's the same one. I obviously can't tell the difference between a wet color and a dry color. To be fair, I think that's got to be a problem with many people, right? I mean, wet colors always look a little different from the dry ones. They always, it's like when you buy paints at a store, you look at the picture and it tells you this is what color this wall is going to be, and you get the paint and you're like, uh-oh, I think they gave me the wrong paint. This is not the same blue. This is not going to work. And you're like, man, I paid $45 a can. It's mixed. You can't return it. This stinks. Whatever. I'll just paint it this color. You start painting it. Hey, look, it's the exact same color. I thought it was. So it's different when wet. Got it. Alright, so ultimately, like I said, I'm just trying to get this brown down in all the places to help make the grass and stuff pop out, or the bushes and stuff on my base here to pop a little bit more. I want them to stand out. I want the greens to look like there are some you're standing in the middle of a muddy foresty area that has some ferns growing up. But still, you know, the mud is fertile. It's fertile. It's fertile mud. But so there's some plants that are managing their way out of the muck. But nonetheless, one thing you can't do with magnifying glasses, you know, I didn't even realize I'm not on screen because I've decided to put my hands down. That's a problem, right? So, yeah, go back up. I think the problem is I need to stop slouching. It's when you slouch. I slouch, my hands have to come down to keep down with my slouchy position. Slouching is bad for your back, so I'm going to sit up and I'm going to bring the mini back into the light. Back into the light. Is that a song? Yeah, it probably is. Back into the light. I'm trying to remember what song it is, trying to find the tune. Here he is. You're going to get my vocal rendition of something to do with the light. I can't remember, so I guess you're going to be saved from my nonsensical singing because obviously I don't know what song I'm thinking of. Something light. Oh God, it's gonna kill me. It's like I know it. There's a song. There's a song that's something about into the light or back to the light. Somebody save me. That's a Smallville song, ain't it? Somebody save me. I can't think of the tune there either, but I know that That's Smallville. So, as long as I can't think of the tone or tune, you will be saved from my mediocre singing. So, when I think about it, or when I do come across a song that hits my mind, and I know how to sing, and I think I know the tune, I will sing it. And therefore, and it's at those points that the one or two people that are watching promptly leave. No, don't sing. What are you doing? We're supposed to be painting. You can't paint and sing. Heck, you can't sing at all. Don't do it, man. Oh, I must go find a guy who's actually trying to paint, not sing. This is torture. Whatever. I hear you. I know what's going on in your head. Dude, you're not a good enough painter for us to stick around and be tortured by your singing, too. Oh, man, you're so mean. It's alright. You know what? If I couldn't sit here and entertain myself while painting, I wouldn't be no point in streaming, because most of what I'm doing on here is entertaining myself. Right? I mean, for one, I'm not really good enough to teach anybody, so the advantage, the learning part of this painting job is for me and only me. For people who come to watch, they're not watching to learn anything. Or if you are, I'm sorry, you're in the wrong place. I can explain my logic and why I'm painting the way I am, but ultimately it comes down to the fact that you're not going to gain a whole lot of skills watching me. My hope is that I personally will improve while I paint. But maybe someday you'll see me painting, you'll go, hey, that's above beginner level. And I'll be like, yay, I made it, man. I am now at the top of the beginner level. Did you ever watch One Punch Man, the TV show? It's a cartoon. It's an anime cartoon. So unless you're into anime, the answer is probably no. So you don't have to worry about it. It's called One Punch Man. It's a superhero that can punch. Basically, he's kind of a lackadaisical superhero, but ultimately, when he does get into it, it's one punch and the guy's gone. Doesn't matter how big, bad, tough it is. It's one punch and he's dead. It's never. That's his whole shtick. He's just so strong. And anyway, he applies to this superhero governance. Basically, all the superheroes in the world are put into this long ranking system. I think it's like SS is the best, and then there's A, B, C. Yeah, I think it's like A, B, C group. And if you're a C superhero, you're like the bottom of the superheroes. And in each group, there's, so a C superhero is be like if I wanted to be a superhero. No powers, no capabilities, but I put on a suit, I go to the gym, I work out a little bit, and I go out with a bat. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a superhero. I'd be like a C-grade superhero, probably rank 80 something in the world. Because there's not very many people like me. And maybe we rank, 2,000. A bunch of people think they can be superheroes. They're just average Joes. And as you move up the ranks, you might be at the top of the C rank. You're probably kind of like a low grade Batman. No real hero abilities, but you're good at what you do. I mean, you fight well. You might have some skills. So somehow this One Punch Man joins up, and they put him in the C group. he's stronger than everybody at the testing facility. he's he's stronger, maybe not faster, but he's stronger and he's quick and he aces a bunch of the tests, and ultimately, he's like the best candidate. But they don't know this guy from Adam. So by the way, this is spoilers. So if you ever decide you want to watch One Punch Man, the cartoon, spoiler alert, I'm going to jabber on about it a little bit. I have not watched the whole thing, so I think I'm still in the first season. I don't even know I think there's like multiple seasons. So I'm only spoiling the first season, I guess. I think. Yeah, cuz I don't think I'm more than 10 episodes in, so it's not a ton. I don't watch a lot of it, but the whole reason I even mentioned it is because I was talking about where I rank with my skills, whatever, getting out of the C group, the beginner group. I think that's what the C group ranks. So I was talking about the One Punch Man. He's in like the bottom group, the noobs, the wannabes. They're all in the C group. Pretty much everybody is allowed. I don't think they reject anybody for the superhero governance. They just say, okay, you want to be a superhero. You're not very good, but we'll stick you in a C and rank you based on your skills, and you will be at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. So when the first person picks up a mini, never paints it, you'd be at the bottom of the public eye. But you could easily say, okay, on your mark, set, go. Everybody does a test, and they all test, and they all paint their very best. And they would rank all those newbies. They've never painted a mini before. But some of them may have a little bit of background at home where they did some painting. But now they're getting onto this testing scene. Some of them might make it to the B group. Some of them be top of C group. Some of them would be like, why are you here? Why are you painting my minis and wrecking everything? Then those people would be at the bottom of the C group, the bottom of the beginner group. Some might come in and go, oh, you're pretty good. You're actually probably a novice level. You've obviously painted a little bit in your life. And they look at me and go, dude, you are definitely a beginner when you start. I probably wasn't at the bottom of the beginner levels. You got to figure the bottom of the beginner level of painting in One Punch Man terms is like somebody who takes one color and then just slop it on there, and it's just a mess. It's 5-year-old stuff, right? And they might take some colors and they paint the face blue with a splot, and the eyes are all wonky, and if they put eyes on it all, and yeah, it's just not good, right? Oh, I hate this person's face. If you look at it in detail, and there's a magnifying glass, you can just see like plastic all over. Geez, I hope that's plastic and not my terrible painting. I mean, there are spots you can very clearly see as plastic because you can see what do you call it, the plastic mold lines. Nope, not gonna fix it. You can't really see it like this, but it makes her look like she has a double chin and stuff, and that's just irritating. This is why I can't paint armies. I don't have the patience for armies. They are what did I say? I was going to paint it bloodstone, huh? That's that brown red. I think this is what all my straps and my leather and everything on here was going to be. I should probably paint with this. I mean, I don't mind painting up here so you can see the mini while I'm painting it, but the problem is you can't see my paint palette. Not that you can see it anyway, right? It's all blurry. Everything's down there is blurry. Some people have multiple cameras. I mean, like I have my front-facing Surface Pro camera, which isn't adjustable. It's just in front of me. And then I have my camera here, which is for the mini to be seen. Then others, I think, they have like a third camera where they put it down and it's like meant to pick up their wet palette and stuff like that. They'll put one just on their wet palette. So whatever they're doing, people can see what colors they're using and how they're mixing it. I am a professional painter. You want to see how I mix my paints? This is how a professional painter mixes their paints. And I'm like, sometimes I gotta say, I am not all that impressed by the way some of these guys mix their paints. It's not that they I mean, the colors and the fact that they're really good at, getting the blends and stuff they want really easy. It's just like drop, drop, drop. This is what I want, and they do it, and it comes out awesome. But what I'm saying is their paint palettes are gross. A lot of these people, have really gross paint palettes. Sorry, that's my opinion. They're a mess. They're all over the place. All right, so I'm basically painting everything that I would think is a leathery color with this bloodstone. And the reason for that is because, well, I want it to be kind of a red leather. That's my goal. I paint a lot of leather, red leather. Leather is kind of, well, leather's more of a tan, I suppose, but and then I'll have to go over this with some highlighting and maybe even some light brown. So when you're using a really small brush like I am, and I don't always use a small brush like this, sometimes I'll use like a 0. But this girl is so small, a lot of times I have to get down into the weeds with her, and it's just sometimes easier. But the problem with using a really small brush is it dries so fast. So what I do sometimes is I'll put my, like one of those mediums or retarders down on my palette, just on its own, separate from all the paint. And then when I rinse off my brush, I will go over that, I will roll my brush a little bit in the retarder. And what that does is just basically makes it so the paint that goes on my brush doesn't stick to it. Which is, the ultimate goal, right? You don't want your... Oh, I see. Okay. You don't want your paint to stick to... you want your paint to dry. So if you can keep your brush from allowing it to dry, you can go longer. Which is, of course, the ultimate goal. You want to be able to build paint, especially if you're going to use one color for a while. You don't want it to keep drying out. Put it on the brush, you want it to stick, or you want to be able to just keep going and finish that piece of your model without having to repeat or having to rinse just to get the wetness back. Because once it dries, it's very problematic, right? So I put some black lines to call out the details of this character. And the thing is, when you do that, you gotta be willing sometimes. So if I had a bigger fig, I wouldn't have to do this. And that's go back over and try to thin my lines. Yep, thin them. Make them even smaller. They should be fine lines. Just taking away the thickness of my lines. If I can make my lines thinner by going over them with this this paint, just pushing them back. Maybe even making it kind of a transitional, where I go over it. Don't necessarily have to worry so much about totally fading it out, like totally blocking it. I mean, it'd be nice, I guess, but if you just go over it, pushing it back, the lines become smaller and smaller and smaller. And then they just look like, well, they look like a shadow. Which is kind of what you're doing when you do shading, right? When you're just dropping shading. But I wanted more of a call out than just shading. I wanted to actually be a visible differentiation. Especially, it's really important, I think, for that differentiation when your colors are very close to each other. Like if you're going with a greenish brown or something that's similar right over a green, black will make your colors separate. When you can put a line down, the colors kind of say, oh, I'm not meant to be similar in color. Which will help a lot if somebody who's colorblind decides to look at your model. They can look at your model and go, oh, I see, you got two different colors there. And you're like, yep, I most certainly do. I have two colors. Two colors, my friend. And they just pop because they're pretty. And because my painting is so good, well, so good that you don't even know that I cheated. That's what, yeah, that's it. I cheated. I mean, that I used a trick to make it come pop out. You're like, wait, what? You tricking me? Tricking me, did you? Yeah, I trick you because I am not that good of a painter. And I need to make my colors pop. And black lines around my painted areas make my colors pop. They go, yep, I said it. I'd imagine that people who just turn on a stream and don't chat with that streamer think, this guy must be talking to somebody because he's a talker. there must be someone in the room. Bzzzt, wrong, no one's in the room. I am effectively talking to myself. Yep, all to my lonesome. But I do keep looking at my screen, so if you want to talk, if you got your own input about One Punch Man or, anything, feel free to say so. Say, all right, dude, you need something more interesting to talk about, because One Punch Man is not doing it for me. He don't know nothing. I don't know who One Punch Man is. I think the whole concept of a dude who can knock out everybody with one punch is stupid. It's like, well, tell me how you really feel. I just did, man. I told you. It's dumb. It doesn't make any sense. How could one superhero be so strong that he knocks out everybody, no matter how tough they are, with one punch? And I'm telling you, it's done. I seen it happen. I was watching the show, and the guy punched man, and he went down in one punch. I'm telling you, it happened. I don't believe you, man. Don't make sense. It just don't make sense at all. How can that be? Well, I tell you how it be. The guy just comes up to him, and he moves quickly, and he swings hard, and he punched the man right in the face, and his face blew up. His face just blew right up. And there was no more left of his face. In fact, his head was gone. The whole head was gone. And then he go fight another guy, bigger, badder, stronger, killing everybody. This guy was just killing everybody. One punch, they go flying. And he punched him in the stomach. That guy has a hole in his stomach. He punched his guts right out of his body. He just went flat. Ugh, it was guts everywhere. It was terrible. It was terrible. For the bad guy, that is. For everybody else, it was like, woohoo, man, beat him with one punch. And then they're like, but all the other heroes that he'd been killing must have just been softening him up. Make him softer, And they beat him down and made him just weak as pudding. And then he's like, yeah, that's it. I'm not so strong. They were already weakening him up for me. Made his gut all soft and squishy. So that when I come along and punch him in the gut, his guts just go flying. Split. Oh, you may guess by the description of the scene, One Punch Man is kind of a gruesome. I mean, it's cartoon gore, but it's still gore, right? And there's gore all over the place. So if you don't like gore, be it any kind of gore, be it Al Gore or any other kind of gore, do not watch One Punch Man, because there is some gore. There'd be guts all over the place, there'd be brain matter, there'd be beaten to pulp people, but on the upside, the heroes, no matter how many times they'd be beaten to a pulp that looks like they're quite dead, they seem to bounce back. Short time in the hospital, and voila! Hero back. Even though, one guy was hit so hard, he was tossed all over the place. And this guy he wasn't even like a superhero. He was tossed around like, I don't know, like that Batman dude on Invincible who was fighting with Omni-Man. Just picked up like a rag doll and splatted all over the place. Except, for some reason, spent a short time in the hospital and he was good to go. How does that happen? I don't know. Tell you right now, One Punch Man is not shooting for realism. That is not the point. If you're looking for realism, do not watch One Punch Man, because it is not shooting for realism. With most TV shows, when you talk superheroes, they have to skirt a fine line, right? You can't be. It's like you want to be as realistic as possible, but at the same time, some things just aren't possible. Sometimes realism can't be accomplished with a superhero, especially certain actions. Certain types of superheroes are just not meant to be realistic. But I'll tell you, when they do manage to show a hero's abilities in a realistic light, that is when it gets cool. Because when you can watch a superhero show and go, they did that really well. That's how I would think a superhero, that kind of superhero would function, right? They're doing more and more of that. Hero movies now are becoming more and more realistic. They're trying. You try to be able to explain. If you could explain a superhero and his abilities, why does Superman have his powers? What could it work? How would that look in the real world? What physics, what abilities would he have to have in order for that to actually work and be understandable in terms of explanation? Take, for example, flight. I think I've had this conversation, but I did it during a workout. And so I know absolutely, there's zero chance that anybody heard me talking about this before, so I'm talking about it again. Flight. Could it work in the real world? Here's my theory. Yes, but it wouldn't be flight as such, not self-propulsion. Not simply just up in the air, up and away. I'm defying gravity because I am, and my powers say so. I think flight could work in terms of telekinesis. Yep, that's it. Because I believe that it's possible, not guaranteed, but possible, that telekinesis is in fact a real thing. Now, just stick with me a minute while I mumble about this for a bit. Telekinesis you've seen people who have supposedly, let's just say, I'm going to say, without being a debunker, because I'm not a debunker, I don't know how to, I wouldn't know the process to proving these things wrong. And so far, I haven't seen them proven wrong, but that doesn't mean they are. They aren't. But for now, there are people who have supposedly done things that are telekinetic, right? Take, for example, how do these people hold themselves up? Right? You've seen it. Guy balances on a stick. Now, sure, he either are supposedly magic tricks. Who, magician never reveals his tricks. His tricks. Blah blah blah. Maybe that's true. Maybe there's some gadget they're using that allows for this. I don't know. I tend to believe that's not true because I don't know how that would work. What gadget can make that happen? Who knows? But I digress. What I'm saying is, I think telekinesis to some extent exists. I've seen people, let's say, for example, bend spoons. Now, you don't see this very often. It's not a common thing. So maybe the guy who bent spoons was full of fahooey. It could be. But nobody ever debunked him that I'm aware of. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's possible. Now, I'm not necessarily one of those people who believes that we don't use part of our brain. So I'm not totally sure I can say everybody can have telekinesis. Maybe they can. Maybe it's an ability, a learned skill that if you just teach yourself, if you practice, if you know what you're practicing, you can make it happen. I don't know. But let's say, let's assume for reality that telekinesis is real. We've seen it in minor forms. So a superhero, in terms of telekinesis, would simply be somebody, a person who can fly, would be somebody who's pretty much mastered telekinesis, but not only the ability to move objects, but if you can move objects with your mind, who's to say you can't move yourself? I mean, you're just picking something up with your mind, right? You're saying lift and push. So there's a force, an energy around that person that they are mentally manipulating, and it picks them up. And as they pick up speed, it literally is resisting gravity. So, yep, here it is, my paint's drying. So what happens is they're lifting themselves up telekinetically. Their body is just in the air. And then they are literally propelling themselves, throwing themselves mentally through the air in a direction. And they're controlling it. If they need to move themselves left or right, they move themselves left or right. It's a mental exercise, not a physical one. So if a person has flight capability, they are, if a person has the ability to fly, they are moving themselves with their mind. It is not a what do you call it, defying of physics. Now, you would say telekinesis is defying physics, but is it? Is there a force? Perhaps they're mentally able to control. Really what you're arguing isn't that telekinesis defies physics. It's the argument for fighting telekinesis is that it can't exist, that people can't manipulate stuff with their mind, which that's why I'm saying if we're basing it on reality, we got to presume that ability exists. And based on some historical records, some views, some things that are out there, it could possibly exist. We can't totally prove that it doesn't exist at all, other than just to say, nope, it doesn't exist. I'm not arguing, all that stuff is fake. Unless you've seen the fake and you've seen it identified, which I'm not saying you haven't, because some people have managed to prove some stuff. I haven't seen it. So until I've seen it or heard it or know that certain things have been disproven. Now, there has been some telekinesis tricks that people have implemented that have been disproven. Like I saw somebody, they put $1 on a I don't know, a pin inside of a box, and they were able to make the dollar spin. What as it turned out, the box was not even on the bottom. And so while they were doing their little ooh, wah, wah, whatever, they were blowing underneath the box. And there was wind going in there, and it was causing the dollar to start rotating, which was, it was debunked because they figured it out, because they were able to block out the bottom of the case and they couldn't make the dollar spin anymore. So that person obviously didn't have telekinesis. But there are still things that people haven't been able to debunk as far as like bending spoons and things like that. It's all small, it's minor abilities, things that are, not as big as flight, because nobody's ever been able to lift something major. If they bend a spoon, it's, spoon, it's a tiny little thing, and it's like how heavy a spoon is this? It could just be an aluminum spoon. Some of those bend really easy. So the amount of force exerted is pretty tiny. It's certainly not lifting a 180-pound man up into the air and shooting him through space. So, but like I said, the idea is that if telekinesis exists, then the utilization of telekinesis would be the tool to actually create flight. Somebody would just have to be so good at it, so focused, so strong at it, maybe whatever ability they have is amplified. Because, a superhuman ability would have to be an amplification of an existing ability, an existing thing. Through whatever, maybe they are an alien, and on their planet certain parts of their brain are larger. Same brain, just different in its basic makeup. So perhaps one part of their body telekinesis is better. Maybe they have less arm movement. I don't know. But I'm just saying, it's that would be the way that flight would work, through telekinesis. They lift themselves up and they fly. And that would be an explanation that makes flight possible. Beyond that, it's super strength, right? Super strength flight would be the worst. It would be the absolute worst. You couldn't control it in the real world. Super strength flight, like the Hulk, somebody who can just jump and he can cover miles. Think about it. You'd have to have like a parachute or some way to stop your momentum so that you could stop where you wanted to. And you'd be moving so fast. Think about it. If you could jump, if you had so much strength in your legs that you could jump and launch yourself, I don't know, how far can the Hulk jump? I guess in some comics he's jumped many miles, jumped across the US. I don't know, jumped pretty far. But you basically say, okay, I know I need this much exertion to jump to Florida. Which is ridiculous. But let's assume you could jump that far. You had the spring in your step, because it's not just strength, right? You gotta have those fast twitch fibers firing. The ability to lift something really good does not mean you have the ability to launch yourself up. So let's say you could lift an airplane. You can just pick it up, and through force of will and strength and muscle, you can lift that thing up. But now the ability to launch yourself up with that same force is different, because it's actually different muscles that fire in a person, that have the that create exertion, create acceleration and speed. It's different, and as such, those same muscles have to be just as strong. And same thing with a super fast person. Doesn't necessarily make them strong. It's not just strength making them fast. Like the Flash, he's got hyper speed, right? But what that is that would mean like in order for that to work in the real world, his metabolism would have to be crazy fast. I mean, crazy fast, right? I mean, so his fast twitch fibers, they fire at crazy speeds. I mean, just they're like little electrical shocks, and it allows him to move at the speed of light or whatever it is, because those fast twitch fibers are basically flexing with the speed of light. They're just launching so quick. But that's not strength. That does not translate to being able to lift really heavy weights, because fast twitch fibers are a different part of the muscle. It can twitch and fire. Now, hyperspeed in the real world would be a very difficult ability to control also. Super strength is fine if it's for lifting and pushing, and you might be able to control that, because you can, decide how much you're going to lift or not lift, how much push. You're not going to hurt somebody. You're going to learn to control and manipulate it. But hyperspeed, think about it. If you get yourself up to the speed of light, now the way they do it in TV is your senses slow everything down. Your senses are just as fast as your muscles. So as your faster travelers, you're just flying. But your senses are so fast too. You like go into a different state of mental exertion, right? So your brain is moving so quick, it's calculating things like a computer would in hypersonic instantaneous speed. So when you see stuff coming, you know and can calculate that your speed is so fast. Think about it, just an average Joe running as fast as he can. Just whatever it is. Even if your sprint speed is, 15 seconds per 100, 15 seconds per 50. It's really hard to control if something popped up in front of you, right? Most people can't suddenly stop. If like something jumped up and you saw it, you'd see the bowl come up, but you'd be like, "Wow!" You'd come flying right into it, and it would be kind of funny because you'd kind of go flying, right? You wouldn't be able to stop. So think about it, doing that at light speed. How far ahead would you have to see that pole or that wall or that thing or whatever that popped up? How much timing, how much head start would you need to be able to respond? Even if your brain was fast enough to calculate, you've got to resist centrifugal force, a momentum. You have to resist all momentum to change your direction or stop yourself. So you would have to have what would amount to super strength to stop yourself quick enough. And that's only assuming you have the traction to do so. No matter how strong you are, if the ground is slick at hypersonic speeds, doesn't matter how strong you are, you're not going to be able to stop. Not going to be able to change direction. Now Flash, I know, has had trouble with ice, right? And there are times that you would have to imagine, like on the water. He runs so fast that he can run on water, which is pretty awesome, pretty amazing. Also, pretty difficult to control because there's no, like at light speed, if you saw a boat, how far ahead would you have to see that boat to be able to do anything about it? And can he go so fast that he can jump over a boat? Can he push himself off the water to jump over it? Can he turn? How would you turn? I guess if you're far enough ahead, you'd only have to make a minor adjustment, wouldn't you? You could turn. You certainly couldn't turn on a dime, but if you saw a mile ahead, you would only have to turn, even at light speed, you'd only have to turn like, 10 degrees, and you'd miss the boat by a mile. You just have to redirect to the corner of the boat, and you can run right up next to a boat. Now, you'd have to also slow down if you wanted to stop at the boat. If you wanted to meet the people on the other side. I know, I'm sorry, when I flip this over, all you're seeing is me painting painting underneath the figure. But I tell you, getting a figure onto the screen at all times, not easy. Not easy at all. Because you have to change positions of the figure constantly. And changing the position of the figure is a necessity. I'm just trying to paint a straight line on this wood. Trying to make the black line I created a little less obvious. That's the ultimate goal. So if I could make the line as thin as possible, it'll make this weapon pop without making it look like it's partially painted black. She's got like a hook on her leg. See, I don't know if you can see it there. Right there. See, you can see the hook on her leg. And you can see the black I have around the hook. Right now I'm painting to thin that black line, just so that it looks a little less obvious. They say black lines can do great things. Black lines can do great things to make your miniature pop, but what it can also do is, like they say, make it look cartoony. That's the typical consensus. And I don't want cartoony. I just want well defined. And done with the right amount of accuracy. So my sons are kind of getting into miniatures themselves. Okay, so one of my sons likes dragon miniatures, so he's bought several. He doesn't really paint them that much, but he likes to use them because he likes to be a DM for a couple of different campaigns that I've been in. He likes to DM, and he has these plans, I think, to make us meet dragons every now and then. So he's been buying them, but he also plays what is that Monster Hunter video game? And they recently had a Kickstarter. And he and my other son, who's actually into painting miniatures, he painted a dragon like amazingly. Considering he just started painting not that long ago, a few months in fact, just this year. He painted a mini. Literally, I mean, it is just awesome. I mean, I like, oh my gosh, that's like, I've been painting for how long, and his painting makes my painting look lame. It's just sad. Sad for me. I'm very impressed, proud that he's so good. I mean, it didn't take him nothing to get good at painting. And I, on the other hand, am still working on figuring it out, which is fine. You know, of course, he doesn't paint small stuff. I mean, his dragon is huge. Some people think that's harder, or I think it's harder to paint big stuff. So in that sense, I think he's even better than me, even more so. Painting a big dragon is no end of impressive. Everything you do just is amplified on a big fig. A minifig like this, you make a mistake, odds are people won't even notice it. I prefer to have my mistakes not be able to be seen. It's just better that way. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to paint over my arrow, what do I call it, quiver, so that it's too easy to make mistakes on little stuff. I mean, that's another thing, I guess, with a big fig, tiny little microscopic shake of the hand won't stand out. So I guess that's one vote for big fig, because if you miss it by a tiny little bit, I missed it by that much, it won't be a thing, because on a big fig, it's like, pfft, you're painting 8 inches. If you mess up on a 1/4 of a millimeter spot, no one's going to notice that for sure. And to boot, it's rarely a 1/4 millimeter spot where you have to actually worry about it, right? I mean, there are no microscopic spots on a big fig. You're gonna be, unless you're talking about like an individual coin on a dragon's hoard, probably. Not in any danger of You know, when I look at this quiver of hers, I'm beginning to notice that she's actually got, the quiver is made of wicker. If I look at it closely, I can see vertical lines on the quiver. Now, how do I do that? Do I do that? Do I bother with that? That would almost be something for like the contrast shading to call out. Because I don't think there's any way to really make that pop out. Because I just don't think that's a skill that exists in my tool set. It's just too much. It's just too much detail. And then all these arrows have a base underneath. They're what do they call it? The what is the arrow? What is the feathers on the back called? I forgot what they're called. But they have a base underneath them. And I didn't paint any of that base. Okay, I'm a perfectionist in amateur clothing. So I want everything to look perfect. But actually getting my wish, it's not so easy. It's easier said than done. It's 5:30. Woohoo. Alright, so, oh, look at that paint. It's squishing out all over. I don't think I'm going to let it drop there because I don't want it. Ugh. So I put a piece of that paint on the outside of my case because it was just slopping out and I wanted it to just drop off. I can use it for a little bit, but my paper's not going to be, it's not the best place to get my... Too much water in my brush. I think I'm going to do for this one. So I'm going to run it through my little medium here. Just puts a little medium on my brush so that when I go and touch my paint, whatever its state of being is, going to be, has some thick paint. It's actually like a retarder. I don't think it's actually a... Alright, let's see what that does. So it's painting my finger. That should be alright. Just get the extra paint off. So I'm going to try to fix her body a little bit here. Because I've got some overrun of color. So you paint the black lines to try to separate. What I need are some tweezers. What I need are like some, like I said, some tweezers or some oh, it looks like it's complaining, telling me that I'm messing up. Says, hey dude, your stream is looking kind of crappy. If you want people to watch it, you need to fix your stream. I say, oh man, I can't fix my stream. My computer don't like to be fiddle-faddled with. My computer is very much against performing better than it does. You know, it's old. Asking my computer to do cool stuff, such as, you know, holding a stream together for a long period of time. It's asking it too much. on the upside, her skin is pretty smooth on her stomach. I say that because, like I said earlier, this model is not as good as you'd like to believe it could be. There's just spots where you're like, I don't know, man. Just a little too much. A little too much going on in that spot. Alright, I gotta put this stuff on her face. I do not like the color of her face. She has just got a weird colored face. I don't know why I picked that color, but it looks kind of like a dead face. She's got a deadish face. I must have been using like zombie color face paint. Not to say that I like her face at all. Her face is just ugly. I mean, she's got a nose and stuff, but it's so clumpy. I have to see one of these models again, like get another one to see if maybe it's just me. Maybe I put too much paint on her face. I hope that's not it. Her face just looks weird. It just looks like there's too much plastic around her face. I mean, you can see, like, there's so many flaws. The way that the neck is and stuff. Ugh. I'm just glad that nobody wears a magnifying glass to look at these things. Because when I'm painting it, it's like... I do have a pretty small razor, but you know, I'm having trouble finding a replacement for it. It's gotten pretty old. And my very tiny razor is... It's an X-Acto knife, but the blade is really small. It's like a different size blade than you see out there. And I have not been able to find a new one to replace it. So, it's just driving me bonkers. Trying to fix Ghostface. Yeah, it's not too bad. Alright, let's see if there's anything on her arms that need deep touching up. Since I've got the paint in hand. So here's a problem with supporting your hand with your other hand. Is if you push off at all, the model moves. Because it's like push, push, push. And then I'm doing that while I'm painting, and then it's like, oops, stop moving the model. Does not make it easier to paint when you're moving the model. That would be like one of those painting competitions where they say, okay, now put your piece on the spinner and paint it while it's spinning. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. Why on earth would I torture myself in such a way? I have a little spinner. Those are cool. Now, they're not meant to be, painted on, but they are meant to show off stuff. Works great. It's actually a cake spinner I bought. It's a small one. It's only like 7 or 8 inches. But it's good for like taking spinning photographs. Like if you want to get a full 360 degree view of a model or anything. It's small. You just put it on there and spin away. Turn it on and it'll just rotate around and around. Kind of crazy. Just changing the angle of stuff will make certain things pop out at you. As I mentioned before, this character does have eyebrows, but the eyebrows go all the way up to her head, and I didn't want to paint all the way up to her head, so I'm trying. So I basically said no to painting to her head and just painted it as far as I wanted it. Here to do. So she's got some black in her underarm. Now, we could call that hairy underarm. Which I guess a woodsy chick probably wouldn't be that unusual. But, nah. Really what that black is it's me trying to paint the black lines and I missed. And now I need to fix it. We'll just say that these girls in these woods, these halflings, they're pretty groomed. And you can't see any armpit hair. Because that's the way I want it. That's the way, I like it. See, more of my torturous singing for those of you who are interested in hearing torturous singing. Alright, so she's coming out pretty good. I do have to fix a little bit more on her. I wish I had some light brown of that contrast paint. I have brown, but I don't trust light. I don't have the colors. I don't trust the colors that I have. I want it to be more of a, like this, like a faded khaki color. Is that what I used a little while ago? Probably. Maybe that's one I used. Maybe. Thought maybe it was elf skin tone? Nope. Nope, that's the skin tone I used. I don't know what I used half the time. Like I said, it's all just kind of a guessing game. And then bad thing is too, when you overwrite and you miss something, you've got like, you see like, oh no, I painted over my line, and then it's like, oh no, I don't want to paint over my line because it looks like a broken line. A broken line is not the objective. A solid, pretty line is the objective. What? Somebody text me? Oh. So I mentioned this in my previous little post. Got a new job. Yay me! And then, so they're doing all of the onboarding, you know, getting the paperwork done, getting your computer sent out, and getting all that stuff going. So they sent me some credentials for my login. And what else I got? 528 is important because we can have payroll start your benefits on 6/1. Keep updated equipment as we'll need to have that to you over the next couple of days. Woohoo! They're sending me my equipment. I'm a software developer, so yeah, they got to send me computer stuff. And looks like everything has cleared, so I'm good to go. I wanted my benefits to start on this month, or start on June 1st. So I needed to be employed this month, and they were working on that, and they're saying looks good. If you have a moment, please try to log into your launch email through webmail using the attached information. Okie dokie. So, they gave me some stuff I need to log into my mail, and I'd be officially having a mail at this company. Very cool. So I said I was going to do some streaming of a game I just bought. I bought Tyranny. I know, probably about 1,000 bajillion people out there streaming Tyranny. But I'll stream my never having played it stream. The newbie stream. I'm going, okay, this is me trying to learn how to play this game. Come and join me. I don't know when I'll do that. Tomorrow, maybe? Tomorrow's what, Thursday? Yeah, maybe I'll stream that tomorrow. I'll paint tomorrow too. I'll do everything tomorrow. I'll paint, I'll stream, I'll work out, yeah, we'll see. We'll see, Ken. And everybody's like, yeah. Heard that before. You said you were going to stream 8 hours this week, and here you are, having streamed only 3 hours in 3 hours. You got 5 hours to go. How are you going to do that? Plus, you're a busy day, Saturday. So, board gamer. Yep, that's me. Board gamer as well as video gamer and painter and working outer and everything else. But we're actually going to have our first board game meeting since pre-COVID, which is like back in, I think our last one was in March or April last year. And here we are, a little over a year later. We're finally having another one. All-day gaming Saturday. And here's another thing. I do not want to be painting this guy for 8 hours. Because I've already painted her that long. It's time to say enough is enough, little woman. You need to be done. You know what I'm going to do? I'm giving in. I'm doing the null oil on her back, on her thingy me jigger McWogger, on her quiver, because I'm hoping maybe, just maybe, this can call out. I'll still have to go over it. I think I'll brush it with some other stuff, but it'll darken it up, yes, but the goal is that it's going to call out some of those details that I told you about, the ones that make it look like wicker. I'm not, like I said, I'm not just splashing it, because I'm just putting it on the lower half, the underside of her quiver. Trying not to put it on the individual, bands that go around it. I'm hoping this will pop out some of those details I know exist. I can see them, or it'll just cover them up. Hoping it doesn't cover them up. Plus it'll darken it a tad, which I kind of want it to, because I want it to be slightly different color from the hammer that uses the same color paint on its handle. And so if I do this right, well, whether I do it right or not, it's gonna pop. If it does what I want it to, let's put it that way. I don't know if it'll do it, because I don't know how good null oil is at calling out these little details, but we'll see. I wanted to try and pull out some of these little weird, what looks like wicker-ish design. And then the trick will be, see, it's not that it's bad. My problem is it's just so dark. And then I'm going to have to figure out a way to make it lighter again. And I don't really want to lighten it too much. I mean, I don't want to paint it the same color again. I do want it to just be less. Did it call out detail? Maybe. on. Yeah, maybe it's not too bad. Still would like it to be. I guess I can let the gnome oil dry a little bit. I still think her arrows need to be a slightly different color, though. But I don't know. I'm having trouble. My brain is having trouble calling out another color to use. It's like saying, I don't know. What color's the best? I want green, but that's really green. I'm trying to fix her pants. This is where I gotta fix the brown on her pants. Her boots are red. I want that crease there too, but see, I'm going back and forth and back and forth. Gotta finish one thing. You know, not going all over the place. That is one of my problems. I'm like, oh, fix that. No, fix that. No, fix that one. I do want the black on her boots. I just don't want it to be so pronounced. Watch this. What is this, man? Is this amateur hour? Yes, it's amateur hour. Amateur hour with Active Minds Gamer. You too can paint like an amateur. You want to know how? Just watch me. I can show you the ins and outs of painting. Not bad, just You too can paint But hey, the important thing is that you enjoy it while you're doing it, right? If you don't enjoy it, what's it matter? Whether you're good at it or not. If you're good at it, awesome. If you're bad at it, who cares? As long as you enjoy painting. It's the only thing that matters. It's the only reason why people do it. It's not because, they want to get better. Everybody wants to be better. Heck, even the people who are already about as good as you can imagine have things they think they can be better at. And then I'd be like, oh man, that's too much of that color in that painting. I hear people talk about resetting their painting. Where they erase the paint, stick it in simple green or something, and just dissolve all the paint off. It's like, dude, just find another mini. Keep it like it is. Fix it if you can, but otherwise, move on. There's too many miniatures in the world to worry about that one. Just buy the same one again. They're $4 or $5. Then you can compare them. Hey, I did this one once. I learned some stuff, and then I did this one. You can go, oh yeah, wow, I really improved. It's more fun to look at an improved mini than it is to do a changed one anyway. Like this one, I almost thought about just buying it, but I thought, you know what? I could probably do some work to fix it. Fix it? Well, that's relative. Yes, it's fixing it, but I think it's better than it was. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's better. I think it's more attractive. The lines are more fine. Which is what my goal was. I wanted it to look more, I don't know, just clean. Less, I don't know. I've always been kind of like I said, I'm a perfectionist in amateur clothing. So I see the flaws. I just don't necessarily have the talent to fix the flaws. Which is definitely problematic at times, there's no doubt. This is why I spend so much time on miniatures, because it's like my goal is to keep improving the model, but since I'm not very good, the model does not get the benefit of constant improving. It's like, dude, stop. You're not helping me at all. But you're not perfect. It's like, yep, I'm not perfect, but you know what? You, my friend, are not going to make me perfect. There may be people who can make me darn close, but you, my friend, are not one of them. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to hire one of those people. So, all you've got, little Missy Ranger girl, is me. And if you want to look good, you're just going to have to suffer through my painting. Because my goal here is to make you look good. And if I can't do that, it's not going to be because if I fail to do that, it's going to not be for lack of trying. She's not going to make it to any contests, that's for sure. I would love to be able to enter a contest and think I had a chance to win, place, or show, just because. It'd be nice to know that I've gotten to that point. But it's just not likely. I don't know. I like painting, and I can be happy with my own painting, which is good. When I'm done, I go, hey, that guy looks pretty good. But I'm also realistic. I've seen too many of these paint contest entries to go, yeah, that's not going to be me. Just too many talented folks out there. I've thought about doing like a weekly entry, but even those, the people who put on these things, hey, I'm doing a tournament of all of these minis, you can enter in this week. Those people that all enter those things, they're just too amazing. I am so Joe. But I do like the idea of being able to paint online, and possibly in time when people know I'm out here, people checking it out, and possibly building up a little bit of a community, having people to talk to while I'm doing my mediocre painting, sharing tips. In my case, I'd probably have to receive tips more than suggestions. How to be better. Not tips like, pay me please. Why would you pay me? Why pay me? It's like, well, it's not going to be for my painting skills. It would have to be for my social skills. And I don't know. Are my social skills worthy of being paid? Well, when I have more than one follower, we'll see. And I think followers are way more likely to exist when I actually do this more than once every month. Trying to get into a habit. Now it'll be trickier now that I have a job. I won't be able to do this in the daytime. I'll have to stop and go, okay, today is big day. I'm done working for the day. It's 4 o'clock. Time to load up the camera, get things set up, and go online for an hour or two. Now, I have to be honest, it's rare that I'll be a 3 or 4 hour kind of guy. There's a lot of these people who can paint all day long. It's not that I can't. Well, it's that I can't. It's not that I don't want to paint an entire day. I keep telling myself I'm going to do that one of these times. But that's the thing. I have too many interests, too many things. And I am just not good at committing to that, or actually starting. You know, a lot of times I spend half my time just getting things set up. I don't like the way this is looking, how this is working. All I know is I've been doing this now for 4 hours. Ooh, that's pretty good. 3 hours. Over 3 hours. And I've only talked to myself, so so for the first day, it's not. I don't get really frustrated. Like I said, I've been streaming my workouts, and it took me. Let's see, I've been doing it since January. So what is it, May? So 5 months, and I've got 34 followers. So, you know, try and try again. It's just keep working on it. And I don't think I think I rarely have people who actually come back. Okay, that's not true. I have people who I think who view it later, at a later time. But workouts are different. You know, it's like, oh, when do I have time to work out? I'll follow this guy when I get around to working out later. Yeah, so it's not like they can go, oh, he's doing that. Oh, quick, let me go change. I'll do this with him live. No, it's not going to happen. So that's different. Streamers that are just watching, a lot of times people are like doing their own painting when they pick a guy to watch. And just listen to him talk. And sometimes people are just playing video games while they paint, which again is cool beans, you know. They're just doing other stuff. See, I'm going off screen. Nobody ever says I'm going off screen. I don't even realize I'm doing it half the time. I just kind of like drift, slowly dropping further and further until, hey, you're not on the screen anymore, buddy. And one of these days, I'm sure I'll be, I'll have 2 or 3 or 4 people regularly who watch. That's my goal. Just have 2 or 3 or 4 people who are watching, giving me their feedback, giving me their guff. Guff it's a lifelong goal. I'm starting to think I don't want flat green. I think I want a different green. The more I pick that up, I think that's the color of her pants. I don't know if that's it. I just don't know. Let me check a different green. Let me look at my green options for her pants. I do got to go over her pants though, because they're too medium olive. Strangely enough, I think I like medium olive better than the green. Flat green is just, I don't know. I think the medium olive is more, light. A little bit more light. I don't know. I'll just keep saying light until it sounds right. Light, yeah, it's more light. Light? Light. Light. Do I want light? Sure, I think lighter green will have a better contrast with the red. That's what I think. Okay, so like I said before, I was talking earlier about my slight color blindness, and here I am making a red, and I said green and red are my worst colors. So here I am painting green and red. I'm using bloodstone, which is a red. It's a reddish brown. And then I'm painting with olive, which is a green. But it's a lighter green than the flat green, and I really think I want the flat green. I want the lighter color. I think the lighter color will contrast better with bloodstone. Now, if it was a bright red, maybe the darker green. And again, I'm just talking out of my butt. What do I know? That's just opinions. See, when you're painting, you can decide your color scheme and why that color scheme works any old way you darn well please. Nobody can tell you nothing. Nothing. Well, unless you're streaming, then they can tell you whatever they can tell you something. They can go, buddy, you do not know what you're talking about. But then I'm like, ha ha, you can't say that to me. I'm the expert here. I'm the one streaming. I know more than everybody, because that's how it works, right? Just because you're streaming, you are better and smarter than everybody else who's watching. Don't believe it. It's not true. I'm proof of that. I am the world's greatest amateur. You'll never see an amateur better than me. I'm the top of the amateur list. Because anybody who's better than me is no longer an amateur. So I am the best. As far as I'm concerned, I am the absolute best in the world. Best amateur in the world. Because anybody better than me is a novice. They are moved up out of the amateur bracket. Sorry. Now, oops. I hope I'm not... I did notice I have paint on my thing here, and it looks dragged. So did I? No, there's no way. There's no way I reached that far over. Dragged it. Yep. Here I go. All right, so I got me a little green, and I'm gonna start painting her pants. You know, her pants are already green, but I'm gonna paint them some more. I'm gonna touch my middle, my medium there, so that my paint don't dry up too fast. And then we're gonna paint my fingernail, because why not? Everybody needs to paint their fingernails. Not true. Everybody doesn't need to paint their fingernails. All right, so I'm just gonna go over her pants areas now, because I have places where I probably have a little too much black line. I need to fix it. So what I'm trying to do is make some weirdness. Okay, so this is more weirdness with the mold. I think part of the lines that are supposed to hold the little straps that are holding her knee plate in place are funky. She got herself some funky knee plates. The straps are. What I mean by that is they don't align. She's got areas where her knee plate straps, or her knee pads, or whatever they are, knee armor. They have a strap that goes around her leg, but on one of her legs, the strap doesn't like match. It like goes one direction, goes left and goes right, but then when they come around to the back, they don't meet. So it's like trying to figure out how to paint that in a way that corrects that, or at least doesn't make it look so weird. But the thing is, when you're looking at it from the back side, and then you're looking at it from the front side, you can't see where they don't meet until you go around and you're like, wait a minute. I painted this one and it went up, and this one and it went down, and now I don't match. So at that point the question becomes, how do I fix this? The thing is, Then you got to paint over it and over it again until you figure out where it is, so that you can. And here's another thing: when you use a tiny brush, you put very little paint on the brush. Okay, I put very little paint on the brush. What you do, but it's all the more able to dry out that way. Yep, sometimes there's just some slow parts to painting in there. You know, a lot of times touch-ups are the slow part. They're the painful part, the painful part. And then if you're doing it from a bad angle, your brush hits weird, and then you're subjecting yourself to potential mistakes. Don't subject yourself to potential mistakes. Say, oh, I don't want to rotate the figure. It's comfortable in my hand right now. I don't want to rotate. Okay, then if you make a mistake, you got no one to blame but yourself. Oh man, fine. I wanted to blame someone else, but since you're not going to let me, I will do it this way. I will rotate the figure. So, always give yourself a good angle for your brush. And it's not just an angle for your brush. Sometimes the brush can get there fine. You got to give your angle for the eyes. You got to be able to both brush it on and be able to see it. You know, you just got to say, okay. And if possible, use strokes. What I'm saying is, don't just dab. I said that earlier. Don't dab. Dab, bad. Dab, be bad. See, the problem is that doesn't come off smooth because the B and the D are on opposite sides. Don't dabble with battle. Don't dabble with dabbing. Dab it. It should be dabless dabbing. I'm trying way too hard to make that work, aren't I? Look, in. You are mumbling again. You are trying to make silliness where silliness does not exist. Just do what you're doing and stop being a goofball. But being goofy is what it's all about. I know, it doesn't sound anything like goofy, but you get what I'm going for, right? You get it? You get what I'm going for? Nope, you don't get it. Because if you get it, you'd be saying, hi, Ken, I get it, man. I understand you're coming from. Stop it. You're torturing me. I understand it, and I don't like it. And the other people are just like, I'm turning this off. This guy does not know how to paint, and all he does is walk, talk, jabberwocky. Hello. Dude, you're talking too much again. But you know what you're supposed to do when you're streaming? You just talk and talk and talk, and somebody will interject with, hey man, I hear you jabbering. You make a good point about One Punch Man. I don't understand him either. I know I was talking earlier about, I'll probably talk about it a lot, superhero abilities, that how they would manifest themselves in the real world. I think that's a cool conversation because that's how superheroes would work, right? And in theory, if somebody wanted to make a superhuman, you know, there's some scientists out there. I'm sure they're out there. There's people out there going, how can we make people better, faster, stronger? You know, first there's the cyborg plan, which is probably where we're headed. That's probably the closest we'll ever really truly get to superhumans, is people having what amounts to cyborgian skills. Cyborgian? Is that a word? Is that the right word? People being cyborgian. Well, I think I kind of fixed her pants. I still have that weird clump on the top of her knee. I don't get it. I just don't know what to do with that. I don't know what the heck. She's got a a cyst, a giant, a giant tumor growing out of her leg. I don't know what that is. It's just weird. Just weird. I should probably post that on some miniature site and ask them. Of course, you know, everybody would be doing the same thing. They'd just be guessing. It's like, I think it's a pocket. No, it's too fat for a pocket. Is it a pad? Why is it just on one leg? Why does she just have this one knobby pocket pad thing on her leg? Why? Why, I tell ya? Just doesn't make any sense. So this paint, I keep putting water down because it's actually kind of thick, but it's, you can tell it's too thick. But I also don't, I need it to stay, you know. So they say the right texture for paint is milky. So if it's kind of the texture of milk, is what they say. That's what I've been told anyway. Now, I don't know, is that 1% milk? I assume they mean whole milk. Because 1% milk might as well be water. Right? 2% milk is pretty watery too. So, if you're making something the texture of any kind of non-fat milk, you might as well be going for a water texture. I'm painting that knob the same color as her pants. I don't know what else to paint it. I don't know what it is. I can't even guess. It doesn't make sense as a, is it a double pad? Is it like a extra paddy pad? And if so, why is it different from the one on her other leg? Why does she have like a really thick double pad on one leg and a really thin, tiny one on the other? Doesn't make sense. I know, I'm going to keep complaining about it because it's a problem. It's in my head. Once it gets in my head, I'm going to go like, no, get out of my head, man. You're hurting my brain. Don't make sense. You can't hurt my brain. So, I think I'm going to be stopping soon. What does this mean to my painting? Well, what it means is, when I paint next, I'll still be painting this dumb figure. It's alright. You know, sometimes you just gotta go to it, man. Gotta be happy. But paint until you're happy. I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy with painting. Not happy with... I just want the lines on her. I mean, I like the lines. I'm not saying I regret putting lines. I think they look good. What I'm saying is, just want them to be thinner. If I do it right, the lines become basically almost inconceivable, perceivable. Thin them out where the lines are just super thin. Then it's almost like, hey, I don't even notice them there. They're there, but they're not there. And that's the goal. You want the lines to look like shadows, but yet not be. Oops, see, I'm doing it again. When you see somebody going off screen, you say, hey buddy, you're off screen again. And I'll look over there and I'll go, hey, I'm off screen. I knew that. I was just testing you to see if you were watching me. I feel like I need to go through there with green again, but it's such a narrow spot. I'm afraid to go through there with green again. No, maybe not. Maybe just fixing it with red. I may still have to do some null oil down here. I got the outlines, but I think there's just some areas that I didn't really hit with the lines, and they're too narrow to hit with lines. So I might need to just let the null oil hit those cracks and crevices for me. Now it's a pretty safe bet that, you know, there's areas of these boots that I think I'm probably not even hitting behind their legs. I mean, they've got color on them, so I've hit them at least once, but they don't, no, they don't pop. They look like there's parts of the lines that don't match. Still think my lines are a little, okay, so I gotta take this off. See how it looks without without my magnification. See, those lines are super fine. Actually, look, she looks pretty good, I think. Wow. Sometimes you need to take the magnification off because you don't realize that under such high intensity of magnification that those lines actually look pretty sharp. Down here, man, you can barely tell they're there, and they just do make everything pop exactly like I was shooting for. Holy Manolians. Man, I think I might be done with this figure pretty quick. Man, how does something look under magnification so off? And then when you take the magnification off of it, it's just, well, gotta say, looks pretty good. I do say so myself. So you can't see the magnification. I can cheat. Maybe I should take one of these thingies and put it on my camera. Why would I want to do that, you say? Why would you want to torture yourself? It's like, dude, why would you show everybody your flaws? It's like, but don't you want to see my flaws? Don't you want to see the imperfections that I see? So that when I'm talking about imperfections, you can go, oh, yeah, dude, you really don't know what you're doing. And I'll be like, exactly, that's what I've been saying. I am seriously broken. And you'd be like, why did you want us to know that again? Why did you want us to see your failings? Just so you knew I wasn't making stuff up. Never thought you were making it up, man. But if we can't see it, we can't prove it. See, what I always see when I see other painters looking at something and they're going, I gotta fix that. And I'm looking at it going, dude, it's perfect. What are you talking about? There's nothing to fix. If I could paint like that, I'd be a happy camper. And they'd be like, oh, come on, man. You can't see this nasty flaw that I just... It's making me sick. I think the good painters that are online streaming, even when they make what they think is a mistake, I'm impressed by people who don't use magnifying glasses, but the fact is, because they paint so good, it looks so good. And it's like, man, I looked at my paintings of figures that I didn't have the magnifying glasses for, and I thought they were pretty good, and then I looked at them closely, and I'm like, oh, that's crap. I am so bad. And I don't like being bad. I really don't. It irks me. But I enjoy doing it enough that I can wait for me to get better. I can do it. It's patience. It's gonna take some patience. Whole lot of patience and time. Some spending money. It's gonna take plenty of money. Whole lot of spending money. It'll take patience and time. A whole lot of patience and time. I know, it's not singing. It's like talking. But that is the song, right? That is the words. I think I'm pretty close. I decided to make the arrowhead have less, I don't know, less rope on it. I don't know, I probably did it wrong. It's probably not the best answer. So hard. So hard sometimes to know when you're looking at what you're looking at, what the details are that you're trying to help pop out. I think my paint might be drying. Stupid paint. It's like, and as your paintbrush dries, the paint you put on top of it dries. The paint you put on top of drying paint dries even faster. It's like it uses that. It uses that dry paint to dry faster. Well, I really do think she looks pretty decent. I just don't know when. At the moment, I haven't figured out where to draw the line on my completion task. I wonder if there's a way. I wonder if there's a way to paint a little bit more into her. So I'm looking at the quiver. Put a little bit more, just to lighten up a little bit where I put the null oil. Just, I did want it darker. Yep, that's exactly what I wanted. I want it to be just a little bit more tan. I know whispering doesn't help. Sorry, I want it to be a little bit more tan than what the null oil left it as. It does kind of call out the details a little bit more, but I don't know. Ultimately, I'm not sure it did fully what I wanted it to. Which was calling out that wickery look that's in the quiver. The quiver's got a little wickery look, and I don't think this the normal actually highlighted it enough. Of course, you know, we are talking about a miniature that's like the half-inch tall or 3/4 of an inch tall. Yes, it's probably asking a lot. Okay. Well, guess that's gonna have to do. I really just don't know what else to do. Just don't know. I really think she looks pretty good, though, for the most part. Way better, I think, than she did. Okay, so it's been 2 hours and 10 minutes. I think I've had enough. It's getting late. It's time to quit. I think she looks pretty good. I'm about ready to call her good. I do have to put some varnish coat on her. I might do a couple more tweaks and touch-ups at some once I decide what those are going to be. But overall, feel a lot better about her than I did when they gave her back to me to put the varnish coat on. I might do a little bit more on the shaft of the arrow because I can see too much of the black line flowing over. Yemini. Oops, not on the screen anymore, sorry. Besides, not being on the screen is actually a detriment to myself as well, because I don't have as much light. It's better to be up here closer to the light. They say you should always be in the light. Always be in the light of day. Okay. Well, if you decide to check this out, please leave comments. Let me know what you thought. See if was at all entertaining, or if you think suggestions would be helpful. Any kind of feedback, I'm happy to take constructive criticisms. Trying to be too mean, you'll hurt my feelings. But otherwise, I still got to finish the base a little bit more too. Like I said, I was working on popping out that base a little bit more, so I'm going to go over the greens a little bit more later. I'll do some lighter colors on there, maybe get some yellows, ways to call out those leaves more. But not now. It's 6:30. I'm happy enough to stop. So off we go. Goodbye. Have a good one, and thanks for checking it out if you do.